DuPont Circle commuters aren't too happy with the fare increase, especially with all of the construction happening in the station. It has caused more traffic now that all of the commuters are forced to exit and enter the station through one entrance only. This is the IHOP where a man was shot last week. It is also the starting point of a silent march that has been organized in support of victims of violence in the gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender community. According to the event's Facebook page, the march will start here tomorrow evening and end at the site of the most recent act of violence, still to be determined. He's down! After a few failed attempts, I finally got the hang of it.
Kite flying might look easy, but it takes a lot more concentration than one might think.
I've lined kites now for about a year and a half. And before that, I started flying the dual-line kite.
The DC Kite Festival drew in thousands, and the sky was littered with kites of different shapes and sizes.
I've been living in Maryland since I was a young kid, and the Chesapeake Bay has always been in my backyard. We had an entire chapter of study about the Chesapeake Bay when I was a 10th grader, and it really struck me that, wow, all these things are right in my backyard. Someone gave me a face mask, and I went to a friend's swimming pool, and I just opened up a whole new world. I couldn't believe it. You could see clearly through the window of a mask. I know it sounds crazy or ridiculous, but I was enthralled. I did nothing like one whole summer but just snorkel everywhere in this general area, swimming pools, rock quarries, lakes, you name it. I didn't even have a pair of fins and no snorkel, just a face mask. And I did that for a couple of years in high school with no thought whatsoever of going further, that is with scuba gear and the latest equipment of the day. Now, I'm excited about today's technology, especially with this new Epic camera system, 5K, unheard of resolution. Generally yesterday when we did our tests, and we like to do all the tests in the swimming pool first, so we have nice controlled conditions. The system worked flawlessly. It was a great system, great test yesterday. I'm confident if we have any visibility at all, we're going to be able to get some usable images, and with a little bit of luck, we'll be able to transform this from a 2D picture, which is what we're shooting today, to a 3-dimensional picture. It's always a struggle. I mean, it's never been easy. I mean, going out today in the middle of March, I mean, we're kind of blessed with the good weather, but you know, this isn't an easy job. Anyone who takes underwater photography seriously, I mean, it's a combination. You don't have to be great in any one thing. It's like a triathlete. You have to be, you know, fairly fit to do this, no matter what your age is. You got to be fit, and then you've got to keep up with the latest camera technology. And obviously, diving is first and foremost. If you're not comfortable down there, it's never going to work. You won't be able to concentrate. Every now and then, we have really close encounters, and it becomes highly dangerous sometimes. This year is the 20th anniversary of my infamous shark bite accident. We were making a film about the world's first camera deployment on a shark. And the producer came up to me, the National Geographic staff producer, and said, "Hey Nick, they've got the shark guys, they caught 2 sharks. I said, great, that's what we wanted. I said, well, what kind of sharks are they? And he said, well, we have a lemon shark and a bull shark. I said, they're not good sharks to work with. Tell the guys to let them go. We'll have another day at this. And immediately the producer looked like I was crazy. And I said, no, really, you know, you don't want to work with these. They're nasty sharks, very temperamental. They're not going to be good subjects. And he said, oh, we can't do that. You know, there's, you know, budgetary reasons. Anyway, we went down and I made sure I stayed away from the front end of the shark. The Criticam biologist was trying to go along the base of the dorsal fin because I'd pointed to where the best place would be to dart the animal. While he was doing that, the Mexican fishermen who were holding the shark took a big pair of cutters and cut the hook out of the shark's mouth. As soon as that happened, they released the shark. It took off like a thoroughbred racehorse out of the starting gate. And then it did a 180-degree turn and came right back at us. And it looked like it could be an accident in the making. I went like this, underwater, gave everybody the up signal. We came up and I said, oh, thank God nobody got hurt. I went back to our boat and I looked up at the producer and he said, Nick, do you think you could get one more shot of the shark before it swims out of the lagoon? And I looked at him and I said, you know, this shark is really pissed off. I'll try, but I'm going to keep my distance. So I'm looking and trying to keep the shark in frame, and just at the last second, up in the right-hand corner, I see a dark image swimming across the frame. I have no idea what is about to happen. Well, what occurred on the surface is they had a little chat and decided that they talked a young kid, an 18-year-old freediver, into coming down with a pole with a breakaway hook on it. He was going to try to rehook the shark. The next thing I remember, I was on the seafloor. Shark came down and totally took the bottom half of my leg in his mouth and started ripping it and shredding it. And I've got a scar that goes from here and wraps around the foot, and he basically split open all the tendons down there right to the bone. And I was bopping the front end of the camera in the shark's mouth, and you can actually see my flesh at that point on the teeth when you look at the motion picture footage. The Mexican guy, who obviously had caused the accident, went to the surface, told the guys that the gringo was being killed by the shark. And so I got to the surface with the shark still snapping at me. And I got so tired batting the shark with a 50-pound camera housing that for the first time in my life, I dropped the camera. At that point, the guys who caused the accident came up in their small boat, grabbed my tank block, pulled me head over heels into this little skiff. And the next thing is I'm looking at a blue sky and being whisked away to a medical facility. And I spent 21 days in a hospital, had half a dozen different operations, but as you can see, everything works. Everything got put back together. But one of the big lessons learned from that exercise, for me anyway, was never go anywhere again, no matter how many times people plead about budget. Take my own crew. That was the first time I'd been on a shark project, and the last, where I didn't have my own crew. We talked about the challenges of this work. You need to really form a team if you're going to survive underwater for a long period of time and make meaningful films.
La música es lo que nos mueve. The music is the life for the mariachi man. El mariachi nació los principios en la ciudad de Cocula. Fue formado por 4 elementos que quisieron darle vida a las fiestas tradicionales de México. En ese tiempo era acompañado con arpa, una pequeña guitarra, un violín y una persona que cantaba. Y se representaban en las fiestas cantando sones mexicanos, sones tradicionales.
My name is William Romero. I'm 19. My grandfather played in the band. He passed away, but my dad started teaching me like around 5 or 6 years, when I was like 5 or 6 years old. All of these guys are just friends. They invited me to play. They like how I play, so I'm a new member here. This is called Vihuela. Vihuela. It's kind of like a guitar. It just has 5 strings. It has like a little belly, and yeah, it's smaller. It's a family tradition. Since my grandpa, he used to play. My dad, he taught me. And in Mexico City, I was studying, so yeah.
Yeah, I like. It's the best.